You have all been sleeping on Made in the Manor by Kano, which is a UK rap album which came out a couple of years back. Didn't really get much of a rave response, but I do think it deserved more credit than it got. Kano is a strong UK rap talent. He isn't really a name that gets brought up along with the bigger names such as Dizzy Rascal, Wiley, and even now with bigger names starting to rise to the top, such as Slow Tie and Lil Sims, and you could even throw in Dave and Stormzy too. Now, obviously, Stormzy and Dave represent much a bigger portion of the current scene in the UK right now than names such as Slow Tie and Lil Sims, but they're still worth bringing up anyway. It is just kind of a shame that Kano isn't on the map really at the moment, but I think Hoodies for Summer really shows that he deserves to be, because it is a pretty solid release. This isn't Made in the Manor though. I don't think it's not quite on the level of that, but I do think it is pretty good in its own right. Lots of strong qualities on this album that I really do think show Kano's ability to be very versatile in comparison to a lot of his contemporaries. It is really impressive to me how Kano is able to pull off these somber, slower tracks such as Got My Brandy, and he's also able to hit you out with some really strong, hard-hitting bangers as well. I mean, there are some really good dancehall reggae fusions, which again is something that even many mainstream names at the moment in the UK are just botching. Like every time I hear something like that on the radio, I completely switch off. I don't really have much investment in the sound, but having a popcorn feature is always the best way to go, because that track on here is so damn good. It's such a well crafted, summery, upbeat tune. It does have some really annoying backing vocals towards the end of the track though, with the hey, like that gets really irritating. It does almost ruin the vibe of the song, but pretty much the rest of the track is so damn good. And I also really like how on Pan Fried it's a pretty similar sounding song, but then once you get to the verses, the beat switches into a much harder hitting grime fest. I really love the juxtaposition of the chorus and the verses here, even though they do sort of sound like they're from two different songs, but actually the way that it flows together, I'm just in awe of. And Kano does showcase how he's able to transition on so many different beats on this album, because there are quite a lot of great beat switches within the same song across this album, which again isn't really common for grime or UK rap at all. Now, where the album falters though isn't really in the beats at all, or the way Kano is rapping over so many different types of beats. It's more of his lyrics, I think, at times. He's not really delving deep into some of the issues in ways he's done before that I am usually really impressed with. The exception to that rule is Teardrops though. I mean, I think the way he's talking about the struggles of the black community in, the streets of London and the UK in general is really interesting to listen to. And there's a little voice snippet as well talking about how the concerns raised about the police, or like the system, are never really dealt with. And I've got to admit, it's a bit of a strange moment on the album, because this is something I feel like Kano could have taken more of an advantage of. I just kind of feel like he brushes over some things across the album that really could have been way more focused. As well as that, I think one of my least favourite tracks here is Trouble. I just don't really feel like what he's trying to say translates very well, which is a huge shame, because I like the beat on this track, and I think his singing is really good on the chorus too. It's such a shame that the words he's speaking just don't seem to offer that much to me. Again, here he's making a comment on the police and the government at large just not really doing anything to help people in the black community, but I just feel, again, it just feels glossed over. It's not really specific, it's not really taken into further detail. I just think it's a bit of a shame. So it is a bit of an odd thing for me to be coming to terms with the fact that my favourite moments on a Kano album are the moments where he's just going in on some really hard-hitting beats, like Class of Deja, for example. It's just such a classic grime track. It's just straight up no bullshit 2000s era grime. if you love, the classics in the grime genre, there's no reason why you couldn't like this song. Good Youths Walk Amongst Evil is a track that I think goes on way too long. The hook on this one is really weak. I just don't think this is showcasing the best hooks on the album at large, considering there are some really good ones, and this is just nah, this one doesn't really work for me. The final track, though, with the Suck Your Mother refrain, is so random, but it's also really funny and quite impactful as well, I think. He follows it up with by saying that, if you suck your mother if you think we like to be in cuffs, or we like to be getting in trouble, or we like the attention from the police. It's pretty clever, I think, and it just kind of shows that Kano, again, it can add some humour to some serious topics. So yeah, I think it ends up being a good album. I think it certainly is better than a good chunk of the UK grime and rap releases I've heard this year. Quite a few disappointments, I must admit, coming from Skepta, Dave, Slow Tie, honestly, as well. Like, some really big disappointments for me, but this one didn't really disappoint. It just isn't as good as what he's done before. 6.5 out of 10. Hope you enjoyed this album. If you liked it, let me know what you think of this. Hope you enjoyed my review. Have a good day, and goodbye.